All right. Appreciate everyone for joining us for Coach Smith's weekly press conference. We're going to start with an opening statement from Coach, and then we'll open up to questions.
Hello, everyone. I'll read my statement, then we'll get to the questions. We just wrapped up a really productive week. We were able to reset and take a good look at where we were and how we want to continue to grow as a football team. I'm extremely happy with our players and how we approached the bye week. The energy of the building has been very positive. I'm proud of our leadership in the locker room and how connected this group is right now. We have a tremendous opportunity here on Saturday to go to Ohio State. They're a very well-coached team, very talented. Coach Day's done an amazing job with those guys. This is why you come to Penn State for this big stage, to play in games like this and be able to compete against the number one team in the country and have an opportunity to beat those guys. The staff is confident the way we've prepared so far. We had a really good week last week. We're looking forward to having a good week this week. And everyone's positive and ready to go. Thank you.
Start with Rich Garcella, and then we'll go to Neil Riddell on Zoom.
Thanks, Greg. Good afternoon, Terry. How are you today?
Very well, thanks. How you doing, Rich?
I'm good, thanks. Terry, can you give us any medical update on Jackson Smolik or Zariah Fisher? Can you tell us anything?
Yeah, Jackson Smolik, there's no update right now. We do know Beckham Kritzer will be available if Jackson isn't around. And Zariah should be back this week.
Let's go to Neil Riddell, followed by Frank Bodani.
Hey, Terry. Wondering on the field, being the cornerbacks coach, they've just had so many great receivers these last few years. Can you frame up the challenge of where it starts in trying to get a handle on those guys?
Yeah, this week will be an extreme challenge. Ohio State has a long history of great receivers. Arguably, these two are the better ones in that list. Jeremiah Smith is as good as they come. We were hoping he'd go through this sophomore slump, but obviously he's not. He's just got everything. He's big, strong, fast, runs great routes, competes. We have our hands full. So, our job on the back end is to make those guys earn it. We have to limit their explosive plays, keep the ball in front of us, make them earn their way down the field and not give up one-play scores.
Let's go to Frank Bodani, followed by Bob Flounders.
Hey, good afternoon, Terry. How are you, sir?
Good, thanks.
Good. You talked a little bit about it, but keeping this team together after a lot of the struggles you've had, could you talk specifically to the challenge of that and what makes you specifically believe coming out of this bye week that this team is ready, will be prepared for the number one team in the country coming up on Saturday?
Yeah, it's challenging to keep us together. Obviously, it starts with my title. I'm the interim head coach. That could be portrayed as the substitute teacher. There's just someone that's different at the helm. Our routines are the same, but, I've tweaked the schedule slightly. We're going to do things a little bit different in the sense of how I would like to do it. And those guys in the locker room have bought into it. So each day we continue to get more camaraderie. Each day we get closer. Each day we continue to work harder. We have great leadership in the locker room. Even a guy like Drew Allar, has been around and been very, very present. He actually stopped in to see me this morning and asked how can he help support. And, we have that type of leadership. So the guys have been great. They've worked hard. We had a great bye week. They're buying into it. how do we go up and beat Ohio State, a number one team in the country? We have to do it together. We have to be as one. We cannot make mistakes. We have to be efficient with the football. The most important thing we have to do is be able to run the football. We have to outrush Ohio State to have a chance. Obviously, their defense is elite. They're number one defense in the country. They've got a lot of elite talent. They're big up front. They're fast in the middle, and they can cover on the back end. So, we have to be creative on offense to run the football, get Katron Allen going again. We have to find a way to get Nick Singleton going because we're going to need those two guys. They're our two best offensive weapons. And we just got to continue to play mistake-free football, and then when we need to make a play, we have to be able to come up with some type of scheme to make a play.
Let's go to Bob Flounders, followed by Mark Wogenrich.
Hi, Terry. Good to talk with you today.
Hey, Bob.
Terry, you talked about the need to run the football against Ohio State. You're able to run the football at Iowa. It just didn't work out. I wanted to ask you about two of your offensive linemen and kind of their status. You didn't have Venga at left guard against the Hawkeyes. Do you have an update on him? And also, where is maybe Cooper Cousins, a second-year guy who at the start of the year was going to be, I think you guys considered him almost like a starter. Where is he, and maybe with his health and moving forward with that?
Yeah, both of those guys will be available this week. We're looking forward to getting those guys back out there. That's where it is.
Let's go to Mark Wogenrich, followed by Mike Gross.
Hey, Terry, just going back to the quarterback a little bit, what's the next step now after start one for Ethan Grunkemeyer? And what can you expect from Beckham Kritza at this point in the season?
Yeah, Grunk, the next step for him is, obviously we got to put him in position to succeed. We can't ask him to go out there and, throw the ball 45 times and be effective and win that way. We've got to create the run game and, have some pass plays off the run game. We've got to be able to give him some throws that are, some one or two read type throws and not overcomplicate it for him. Beckham Kritza, he's coming off of an injury. He's available this week. If he had the opportunity to go into the game, the game plan would be very similar. We'd have to keep it simple for him to have success and, not demand a lot from him. And the other guys have to step up. The offensive line is a veteran crew. We're led by those guys, so we have to run the football and, continue to focus on Katron Allen.
Our last question from Zoom is Mike Gross.
Good afternoon, Terry. How are you?
Good, thanks, Mike.
You said you talked last week about the freshman receivers, Kobe Howard and Tyseer, maybe moving into a bigger role. Are there any other young guys who maybe have evolved to the point where they might be able to play a bigger role than they have so far?
Yeah, those two guys, obviously. We're contemplating, Alex Tash on the defensive side at linebacker. Maybe a kid like Jamir Joseph, the back end at nickel. But, probably those four guys are the ones that come to mind right away. We're just trying to be creative to get some of the young talent on the field and give them an opportunity.
Go to questions in the room over here on the right. Mark.
Thanks for your time, Terry. Your 3 touchdown underdogs, do you use that as motivation? Do you not care? How do you kind of view that?
Yeah, you use it as motivation, but I don't know if we're allowed to because of what these gambling rules now. Can I even talk about point spreads, So I don't know. We, obviously no one's giving us a chance. And I'm going to, reemphasize that to our team. I don't think we've ever been 20-point underdogs since I've been here. But it's motivation. No one believes in us. And we're going to come out and fight like we did at Iowa. but we're going to fight a little harder.
John?
Hey, Terry, over here on your right. I know we'd asked you previously about wanting to be the head coach long-term after this year, but we haven't asked you about your plans beyond this year regardless. Do you want to be on this staff next year, whether or not that's as head coach? And if so, why or why not?
I love Penn State. Any opportunity that would present itself, I would pray on it and would entertain the opportunity to always stay here. We just don't know what's next. So I'm grounded in my feet right now, and my job is to lead this team the rest of this season. And, we're just worried about beating Ohio State.
Over here on the right, Tyler?
Terry, thanks for the time. You mentioned Alex just a few moments ago. I was going to ask about the linebacker depth. Going back to August, Jim has been pretty distrustful, it seems, about some of the younger components of that linebacker room. Is there a sense of urgency now coming out of the bye week to get those guys involved? Why is Alex the name that comes out of your mouth? And are any of those younger linebackers also maybe in more play in the next 5 games?
Yeah, Cam Smith is another kid that has an opportunity. Alex has had, a good start to his freshman year. He's a talented kid. He's big, strong, fast. He's learning the system as they all are. And we just have to create more depth at the linebacker position. When Tony Rojas went down, that's a big gap that we haven't really replaced yet. And so we're just searching for some answers to be able to help the defensive line, to stop the run game, which is critical in this game. If they get going in the run game, it'll be a long day. So we've got to be able to protect that front seven.
Up here in the front, Jack, and then we'll go to Joel on the left.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Hey.
My question, I was interested about your point about kind of taking, the interim role as like a substitute teacher. And not only does that mean you're in, a new spot, but, think about substitute teachers, their relationship with the students, in this case, your players. How has that dynamic changed for you, whether it's been not only dealing with players in a new role, but, just kind of having an expanded role now being the interim head coach instead of a position coach?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I was always Coach T, as cornerbacks coach, and my role prior. I got along with everyone. Everyone saw me as Coach T, kind of the OG coach. I'm one of the older coaches on staff. And now they see me in a different light. It's like the building sees me different. It's kind of like everyone gets quiet when I walk in now. So it's just different. But it's positive in the sense of, I'm still Coach T, and I'm the guy that, still gets along with everyone. It's my job to rally us together. I want to give the players a voice to how this story ends and how do we write this next chapter. And so, it's all about those guys. So I told the staff, there was a video that Urban Meyer was talking about. One of his former coaches is now the interim head coach at Florida. And the video basically said that we have however many opportunities, games left in the season. We have to put it on film that if we want our next jobs as coaches, we have to coach so that the film shows we're deserving of our next job. And so I showed that to our staff. And we owe it to these guys to pour into them and to give everything we can. So we're going to work our tails off. It's my job to make sure that the staff doesn't come up short. We're going to demand excellence as we've always have here. And, I promised that, when we went to Iowa, we were going to play hard. I'm going to double down on that when we go up here to Ohio State. Effort will never be an issue that for any team that I coach. This week we're going to try to figure out how to give that maximum effort with victory.
Over here on the left, Joel.
Hey, Terry, thanks for the time. You said last Wednesday that you were going to spend some time over the bye week recruiting. Just curious kind of how that went. What's been the reaction from recruits? Obviously knowing that they don't know who the head coach will be next year, what kind of difficulties has that posed?
Yeah, all the guys, the committed guys and the guys we were on, they've been great. Obviously, it's very similar to our staff, right? No one knows what's next, right? So everyone is trying to figure it out. They're all on standby. They've all been communicating with us. We've done some FaceTime, some calls. We're just doing the best we can, just keeping an open line of communication and staying in touch until we figure out what's next. And the most important thing is go get victory on Saturday. It'll make everyone feel better.
Over here in the front, Mike.
Thanks. Hey, Terry. I'm going to tell you what you already know. As a former quarterback and wide receiver and DB coach, you know wide receivers really well. What have you seen out of this group this year, and how much over the last couple of weeks have you been a part of what's going on with the passing game and the wide receivers?
Yeah, so our receivers, obviously the production isn't where you want it to be, right? That's the truth of the matter. How do we get it better? Part of it is establish the run game so that now we can play action pass and throw some balls in behind the linebackers and into that intermediate zone. Obviously there's always chatter about we got to throw the ball down the field, and we do want to take calculated risk down the field and throw the ball. We've got these young receivers. We're going to give those guys an opportunity to try to inject some life into the pass group. Ethan Grunkemeyer, new quarterback at the helm. There's just a lot of dynamics with the pass game. I do think we'll be able to throw the ball a little bit better this week at Ohio State. I'm demanding from Coach Kolenicki that, he's creative in the pass game in the sense that, we don't want to throw the ball so much horizontally. We want to throw it vertically.
Way in the back, T. Frank.
Hey, Terry, back here. Now that you've had a couple of weeks to kind of settle into your new position, I think it was back in training camp, James called you the ultimate truth teller in the building. Have you had to have some of those hard truth conversations, either with staff or with players, about what happened in the first part of the season, and now that you're in charge, some of the things that you want to have change to change the result for the team?
Yeah, I am known in the building as the truth teller, and you guys probably can tell because I tell you the truth as well. Yeah, we've had some tough conversations. It's just the only way I'm built. I would want to know if I was falling short so that I can fix it. And it's how I was raised and brought up. The one thing that I worked very hard on in my truth telling is trying to not be so direct and deliver such a hard message. I'm working really hard on that. I'm a work in progress, so please bear with me. But we've had those conversations with staff members. They've been great. Everyone's understanding. Everyone's open to it. We're going to continue to work and push forward in no sense and just try and figure out how to get to victory. So, tough conversations are a part of our business, and they're necessary, though.
Time for three more. Lyle, over here in the center.
Hey, Terry, you talked a few weeks ago saying you were spending more time with the offense, learning the playbook, given the fact you were coming back from cornerbacks coach. Just wondering if you're now spending equal time again with the offense and defense, and what that process was like catching up on the offensive playbook.
Yeah, I'm more balanced now. The first week of Iowa, I didn't do much of any football. Now that we had a bye week, things are kind of settled in, and I'm finding my routine and rhythm. I'm able to sit in with the offensive coaching staff and the defensive coaching staff and kind of getting a better understanding of what our expectations are for both sides, and just talking with the coordinators as well. So things are getting better for me personally. I think both units continue to get better. I think defensively, we have to get critical stops. That's been our challenge is, can we get those fourth quarter stops? And then offensively, the same is moving the ball when we need to move the ball, and then converting, right, on third, fourth down conversions, scoring touchdowns, not field goals. So I feel good that we're working toward those goals.
Over here on the right, John.
Hey, Terry, I want to go back to the two quarterback stuff. What made you guys make that a key factor to the offense again? Was it Drew getting hurt? Was it just the coaching staff change? And even if Jackson is out moving forward, will you still stick with the two quarterbacks?
Yeah, the two quarterback, came up, the offensive staff and myself, we were in discussion. We thought it would be something more for the opponent to prepare for. We felt like it was successful in, how it went down. Going forward, we want to be multiple. We want to be creative. We want to find different ways to make teams prepare for us and get the ball to our guys in space. So, it's still an option and open on the table.
Last question over here on the right, Tyler.
Thanks again, Terry. You mentioned just a few minutes ago that you're demanding Coach Kotelnicki regarding that throwing the ball downfield a little bit more with effectiveness. What has that back and forth been like with Andy? I'd imagine you've had plenty of interactions in the building over the last couple of years, but not where you're the head coach making a demand. So how has he responded to that, and what was your emphasis?
He's been awesome. There's not been any challenging or anything like that, and maybe demanding is probably not the right word. When I go to him, I'm saying, hey, listen, this is what I'm thinking, and he's like, yeah, you know what, I was thinking the same thing. And we're on the same page. We're thinking alike. In this profession, when you lose 4 games in a row, we're all humble. We're all trying to find the problem and find the solution, and we're just working toward that and trying to figure out what's the best thing for us to move forward. And Coach K's been awesome with that.
Thanks, Terry.